Thank you, Madam Secretary. Members will be recognized by order of seniority for their 5 minutes of questioning. Because we have a restricted time window for the Secretary today, just as we did with the last Secretary, I will again limit to 5 minutes. So if you're going to go over, you're going to get a light tap, and then eventually we'll get a little heavier. But the goal here is, and I will, as I always do, apply the standard equally to both sides. 5 minutes is 5 minutes today. I now recognize myself for 5 minutes of questioning. Secretary Noem, in the first 100 days, President Trump made border security a top priority by increasing immigration enforcement, deploying additional DHS and DOD personnel to the border, and restarting construction of the border wall. President Trump's decisive strategy was a sharp departure from his predecessor. Former President Biden refused to enforce federal immigration laws, sparking the most severe border crisis in our nation's history. Under President Trump's and your leadership, the tide has turned. Secretary Noem, which of the President's decisive actions do you believe sent the strongest message to both the cartels and would-be illegal border crossers that the United States is no longer open for exploitation?
Mr. Chairman, I believe that the strongest thing President Trump did was to make an announcement that we would start following our federal laws, that not only would our border be secure, but that those who crossed it illegally would be considered breaking the law like it should be, and that they would be prosecuted. They would be removed, and that it would no longer be a facilitation of an invasion like the Biden administration had put forward. He clearly sent that message, and before I was even sworn into this job, told me that I needed to be aggressive in going out there and telling the world that America was under new leadership, that we were a nation of laws, and that they would be enforced going forward, and that American and the people that lived here were going to be put first.
Secretary Noem, the President has secured the border largely through executive action, but as we know from the Biden-Harris administration, those actions can be undone by subsequent presidents. What are the top 2 to 3 security immigration enforcement policies that Congress must act urgently to codify so they are no longer executive orders but federal law?
President Trump has specifically asked that the executive orders that he's put into place be codified into law so they could be long-lasting. So I'd encourage this body to look at everything that he has put forward in an executive order to see if it could be permanently enacted to secure our nation. I would say enforcement and clarity on what parole is, what asylum is, give us some clarity to make sure that that is something that would be long-standing, interpreted as to how it was intended when the original law was passed, and then ensuring that we have the ability to take action when criminals are in this country, continue to focusing on getting them out of their country and how those diplomatic relations work with repatriating their citizens back home.
Secretary Noem, as I mentioned in my opening statement, you inherited an unprecedented border crisis. In the last 4 years, a total of over 1,700 known or suspected terrorists were apprehended at the border. In the 4 years prior to that, it was 1,700. From your perspective as DHS Secretary, can you highlight how the open border policies of the last administration increased the risk to American families when it came to violent criminals and terrorists entering the country?
Absolutely. Mr. Chairman, we truly don't have any idea how many dangerous individuals are still in the United States of America. Since President Trump has been in office, just in these few short months, we have deported over 250 known terrorists out of the country. These are individuals that were allowed to come into our country unchecked by the previous administration. We have deported thousands of criminals that have perpetuated the worst of the worst crimes on our communities, murders, rapists, child pornographers, traffickers, and we have returned them back to their home countries. The message that was sent by the last administration was, come to America, send your worst of your worst. They're given free rein to make a home here and given every opportunity. In fact, we'll even facilitate their housing, their food, their clothing, and take care of them and treat them better than we treat U.S. citizens. That was Joe Biden's policies. What President Trump has done is follow the law. He has implemented the law and said that American citizens should come first and be prioritized as far as their safety, and that everybody should be treated equally, that the scales of justice should treat everyone exactly the same, and that's what he has implemented. So I'm grateful he's given us the ability to go after the worst of the worst and to remove them from our country, because our communities overwhelmingly get safer every day as these individuals are removed.
Thank you, and in keeping with my commitment to be inside my 5 minutes, I will now yield to the ranking member for his 5 minutes.